Hey everyone, today we're at my mother's house, which has a contractor-grade dishwasher which came with the house. I'd come to find out that my mother has been washing her dishes by hand because the dishwasher simply doesn't work. It's just a cheap Whirlpool 2-level dishwasher. Regardless of its features or cost, if it doesn't clean dishes, it's useless. Let's get it out of here. Those who watch my channel know that all my kitchen appliances are the Bosch 800 series, to include the stove, the double ovens, the refrigerator, as well as my dishwasher. My mother was not interested in all of the features of the 800 series and instead elected to get the 500 series in stainless with the recessed handle. At the time of this video, costing $989 with $110 off due to a Labor Day sale. It also shows installation to be $200 if you want that service, as well as a $50 haul away. I will require neither of these services. Note that during checkout, they pile on about $50 of extra equipment you may need. We'll get into that in just a moment. As I pull out the old machine from the cabinet, I see they swept all the sawdust under the machine during construction. Fantastic. The old machine uses the same exact hose as the one they just wanted me to buy for $25, so I just saved $25 right off the bat. Furthermore, the old machine used a standard socket, so I won't be needing this part either and just save $50. That's why you shouldn't order it until you know. Delivered to the kitchen just like this, we'll be getting underway. Confirming the model and style, I'll begin unpacking the unit. Skip ahead if you don't want to see the installation. Energy Guide says $34 a year or 240 kilowatt hours. Interesting that it's the same amount of energy as my super efficient Bosch 800. The front will be unpacked last as I don't want to damage it. All of the smaller pieces are secured in a bag on the back, as well as this bottom trim, and all the associated documentation, with an important notice included about hose routing. Now the insulation and packaging material on the front can carefully be removed. This piece is now removed but can be used later as an optional part of the installation to support this hose. The drain hose is then removed from the styrofoam, and the power cord for this unit can be found within this yellow bag. Styrofoam is then removed from the front feet, preferably in one piece, and leaning the machine back slightly, I put a piece of the packing wood in here to expose the adjustable feet. They're all the way up, so I can't get the proper tool in yet, but a flathead screwdriver could turn them just like this, getting the feet down low enough as to avoid damaging the tile floor when I lower it off of this styrofoam. Both the feet have been lowered just enough to clear the bottom. I then pivot and walk the entire machine off of the styrofoam base onto the floor. There's a warning on the water supply telling you not to remove the filter that's on there. On the back of the machine also is included this protective barrier for mounting the machine on the underside of countertops. I already have a mount for granite countertops from the previous machine, so I won't be using this. The area now prepped, I bring the machine into the approximate position. The installation then begins with the connection of the water supply line, which is a lot easier when you're not doing it with one hand while trying to support a camera and yourself and a tripod at the same time. But once I get the threads going, I'm able to screw it in. I then gently snug it down with a pair of pliers, and I'm using these pliers only because with my setup right now, it's all I can really fit in there. I'm not trying to make it too tight because it is plastic. This cable holder won't be used, so I'm going to snap it into position. Here's the drain, which is long enough to go to the garbage disposal. It doesn't need to connect to this hose, even if it could, and it can't. So I'll remove the hose clamp from the old hose by compressing it and pulling back. Now I can take that hose off of the incinerator. It may also be on the drain pipe if you don't have an incinerator. And I'll pull the entire hose through the cabinet. Pull the new hose through, connect it up to the incinerator, and tighten down the clamp. Make sure everything fits good, and we're done with the drain. I'll move on to the power cable next, which is in the yellow bag. And one of these two ends has got to fit through this little hole. It's not going to happen. Off camera, a Dremel was used to widen the hole ever so slightly so that one end of the plug would fit through, and it was this end. The fresh water line is also pulled through the same hole at this time. And again, I'm doing this in an awkward one-handed position, but the power cord is keyed and snaps in one direction. There's supposed to be a positive snap. I will be going around the other side after I take this video and checking to ensure that that is the case. Taking a moment before the machine goes in, I just wanted to show what the mount for a granite countertop looks like. It's a metal bar with lots of holes in it, allowing for the safe top mount of the machine. I can now bring the machine closer into position as all the connections in the back are finished. The rear clearances of the machine appear to be good. We're not going all the way in, but checking now that the fresh water line is long enough to reach. I see that it is, so we continue. The countertop is showing 34.5 inches headroom, minus a quarter for the countertop mount. The machine door is 34 height, so it's safe to continue. Temporarily pushing the machine under the granite. It is now temporarily plugged in for a smoke test, and when it comes on, all of the lights will be illuminated for a short while, and this is part of the factory default, and then it'll come up into normal operation. I'm also checking to see that the red status light is illuminated on the floor, and it is. The fresh water line is now reconnected to the sink. I couldn't show it being tightened because I don't have 4 hands, but once it was tightened down, I did open the valve and we're going to make sure that there are no leaks. An inspection showed everything on both ends to be dry. The machine is pulled again slightly forward for the bracket installation. I'll be using the clips in the top mount configuration just like this. My 800 series video shows this being installed in a side mount configuration. Either way, once the bracket is installed, the tabs will be bent downward, securing the bracket onto the dishwasher. This will be repeated on the other side of the machine. And that's it for the bracket installation. Pushing the machine back into position, I place a level on the bottom to get its left to right level measurement. And left to right is close enough, so I'm turning that center screw, which raises the back foot of the machine. And I'm just going to turn it until I feel resistance, because that means the foot is not even on the ground right now. And right here, I feel resistance. It's now touching the ground. So I'll move the level to the side. And we'll be looking at that bottom bubble as I adjust the rear foot with the center screw. As I turn that bottom screw clockwise, it will raise the foot, cantering the top of the machine forward, aligning that bubble to the center. And that is nice and level. I don't know if it's perfectly parallel with the seam of the cabinet, but the machine should be level. I've gone back with a spanner just to get the final left to right centering perfectly centered with the level once more. This is going to be the last adjustment I'm going to make here with the leveling. These are the supplied mounting screws that came with the machine, but I'm going to be using the ones that came with the cabinetry. And that's because my screws fit in that custom granite mount that came with the granite countertops. Having centered the machine and aligned everything from front to back, I put in the first screw, and then I'll evaluate that everything is sitting nicely. After which the second screw will be snugged down into position, completing the installation of the machine into the cabinet. These supplied brackets will lock into position below, allowing for that plate to be installed on the bottom. There's a screw hole that aligns as well. I'll put the other bracket in now. Then using the supplied screw, I'll secure it into position. The plate is then laid over those brackets, allowing for the plate to line up to the screw hole that is the lowest position on the bracket. The supplied screws then secure that plate to the bracket, completing this bottom plate installation as well as the entire installation of this dishwasher. Having our first look inside after installation has been completed, we'll open up the bottom first, and we could see that it is impeded by some styrofoam pieces, and that's just fine. Within the bottom section is a package that is included, a sample of finished detergent, there are 2 of them, as well as a rinse aid and some coupons. There is a silverware holder included on the bottom row. This one's been tossed around in shipping, but we do see the silverware holder can be flipped open to allow for larger items to be stored within this basket. So there is some value in the use of this basket, not necessarily for silverware, since silverware does have its own dedicated row in this machine. As designed, the silverware basket cannot fit on the left side in any way. It can only fit on the right-hand side over here. Moving on to the middle row now. I removed this card first, which talks about connecting the machine to the Homeconnect app. We'll be doing this later. Another card in the back serves as a reminder to register this machine. This rack also has wine glass holders that slide forward to lock into the up position as they are now. I slide them back to drop them into the lower position. These two bars here on the right hand side are also retractable, locking in the up position, depending on what you're putting into this shelf at the time. I'll remove this packing styrofoam. And I found that these wine glass racks inhibit cups that are larger from fitting on that side, so I just remove these, as well as this string. This center shelf is also easily adjustable depending on what you're storing in it. You could push these tabs in to drop it down, allowing for more room above, but obviously reducing the room beneath. You could just lift it from the low to the medium or high setting from the bottom position. Moving on to the top row in the machine, we see all these individual segments that hold silverware. These are wider on the bottom, but fold up to become narrower as necessary, and fold back down to become wider as needed. These trays are currently set deeper for teacup mode, but can be pushed and locked up for silverware, which makes it shallower. This button here drops it back down. Same thing for the other side, locking it in the up position, and then pushing the button to drop it back down. The top row also has a dedicated sprayer as seen above. Closing the top and middle shelf, I'll remove the bottom shelf right quick, which lifts right out, to remove the small bits of packaging material on the bottom. And the bottom sprayer on this model is a standard sprayer, unlike the one on the 800, which is a computer-controlled sprayer. The soap dispenser is found on the door. It is locked shut after loading. If not using pods, there's measurements written into the plastic for the detergent. A lid can be opened just to the right of this, allowing you to fill this compartment with jet dry as needed. We'll be going through all this in just a bit. A sticker up top on the left-hand side provides some basic information to run the machine, as well as a QR code to download the Homeconnect app. Here we have the power/reset button, the type of cycle the machine is currently configured to run on, which options are currently selected, we'll get into that in a bit, an estimate of the runtime, as well as some other parameters. Here's the start and resume button. This machine is purported to be 44 decibels, we'll be testing that out as well. And should you have any further questions, this sticker on the top right allows you to get in touch with Bosch. And the best part, applying power now. All lights will remain lit during the factory default. When it comes out of factory default, it will come into auto mode. Amongst the documentation, we'll find a card for Homeconnect. Now I'll show you a problem I had with this method that I saw with my fridge. As I open it up, scanning the QR code, I'll hit download app from their website, which opens with that QR code. And then when it opens up the App Store, it tells me that that app is not available in my country or region. I don't know why they don't have an American QR code for the US, but if I search for Homeconnect in my App Store and then download it, it works just fine. Notice it says Homeconnect America. Once download completes, I'll open the app. You would have thought they would have fixed this by now. So I'll scroll through this intro, then I'll press done. Read this information and continue to options. You could choose allow to track or not to track, it's your decision. Allow notifications. And while it doesn't force you to initially log in, if you're not logged in, you want to add an appliance. When you click add appliance, it's going to ask you to sign in. Now I already have an account with them. If you want to watch a video that goes into the specifics of creating an account with them, you could click on the link in the comments below for the refrigerator review video. But you can see once you type in your email address, that button says login or register. If it didn't find your email address, it would take you to a registration page. Having found my account, it prompts me for my password. I also choose stay logged in and press continue. Now logged in, I see my home dishwasher and my fridge. I'll press add appliance, new appliance, continue, and it says to stay close to the appliance, but it makes no mention as to how to prep the appliance. So when it goes to search, it's never going to find it. Because even with all this information and 50 QR codes for their application, they can't simply state to turn on the machine first and hold down the remote button until that Wi-Fi light turns on. Really easy. Something about Bosch getting their devices on the network that I've just never been happy with. There it is. So I select it. It scans for Wi-Fi networks. Select my network. Type in my password. Wait for everything to register. And yeah, congratulations indeed, because if you got this far with these instructions, you're a winner. I press start on onboarding, and I'll be renaming this dishwasher to Dishwasher Mom. Then I'll press next. I'll leave this remote control level alone for now and hit next, and then close. We see my home dishwasher to the left running, my mother's to the right. We select my mother's dishwasher. A couple statuses show rinse aid empty and the door is open. I see this annoying banner for remote start, so I'm going to hit turn on. I'll leave it set to manual remote start for now and click OK. I want to take care of that rinse aid alarm next. So I open up the rinse aid fill cover on the door. It was suggested in the comments of the 800 series to put my finger over the top of this before filling, and that would stop it from spilling all over the place. It turned out to be a good idea. Snap it shut and move on. Now all the notifications are clear with the door closed, but if I open up the door, we'll see that that notification will reappear, and that's just fine. The app was then installed on my mother's iPhone, and then I went through the same exact onboarding process as I did on my phone. Now I can demonstrate cool stuff like toggling power from the phone. Now it's off, and turning it back on. Before we begin any testing, I would like to go through the settings right quick, so I scroll down and select settings. Not thinking I'd be making any immediate changes, as I scrolled down I saw that the button and tone volume could be louder, so I adjusted these. Then I saw a setting called Efficient Dry that automatically opens the door when it finishes, and I was not even aware that this existed on this machine. Thought that was pretty cool, so I'm going to set that for all programs and press OK. Everything else in settings looks good. I'm going to leave it alone and proceed on with our testing. So I'm going to load up the dishwasher starting from the top down with various dishes. My mother does not have any dirty dishes at this time, so I'm just taking dishes right out of the drawer and throwing them in so we can conduct a test. On the second row, we'll be adding some mugs and glasses and bowls. The first row will be some of the larger plates, quickly adding some more back to the second row before we continue adding some larger bowls and covers to the first row. This should be sufficient for a test. I've opened up the sample pack. The coupons actually did not expire this time. Opening one of the detergent packs, I'd place it into the holder and close the door. I'll be monitoring the auto setting that I'm using from the phone, taking 2 hours and 40 minutes with 4.4 gallons of water and 0.75 kilowatt hours. And we'll take a quick look at the options by clicking on it. And we're currently using auto air, which is the door automatically opening, but no economy mode, no sanitize, and no half load. I could initiate start from the phone, but I choose to initiate it on the machine. To begin, I simply need to close the door. Note the red light on the floor indicating that the machine is currently running. The machine is so quiet that the air conditioner is louder than the machine. I'm going to need to shut off the AC to continue. And I'll tell you, it does run between 40 and 50 decibels, so it works as advertised. The status as well as the time remaining on the dishwasher can be viewed within the app. And we can see, as a coincidence, my home dishwasher and this dishwasher are both running at the same time. And just as the dishwasher cycle completes, the door automatically opens. Outstanding. We can hear audible tone that it has completed from the dishwasher, as well as notifications on both cell phones, since the dishwasher is registered on both phones. I had to be real patient to capture all this on camera. So let's have a look at the dishes starting from the top row. And I know they weren't dirty soil dishes, but we'll still inspect. The knife is both clean and dry without any spots on it. Same for everything else up here. I go through the second shelf and the results are the same. The glasses are all spotless, as well as the bowls, and everything's dry. No complaints on the bottom shelf either. Back in the app, we'll take a look at the other programs and associated options by selecting that dishwasher. They really want me to use that remote start and would give me no peace until I enable it. But I hit skip anyway and press Control. And it's listed as an error. You have to allow remote start. It's considered something wrong. So I'm going to hit activate on remote start. because we're done with this. And it's going to open up the settings where I'm going to be able to choose, instead of manual remote start in a remote control level there, I'm going to choose permanent remote start, if only for the app to leave me alone. And you have 10 minutes to hit the button on the machine in order to accomplish this. Making my way back now, I select Control. Selecting Program takes us to all the available programs. Starting with Heavy, as you would expect, is for heavy pots and pans. We can see the water and energy usage for each one listed above. Then Auto, which automatically senses a cleaning based on the dirty water using sensors. Surprisingly, it's not the most efficient. Normal is, as we'll see, the water and energy usage is the lowest on Normal. Glass is a special setting. If you have a bunch of champagne glasses that you're washing, you would use this setting. Rinse is apparently a pre-rinse before washing if the dishes are really nasty, allowing that nasty water to circulate out before the actual washing. Speed 60 is a special program that gets everything done in an hour. Machine Care is used for the cleaning of the dishwasher itself. I'll put my setting back onto Auto and we'll continue. Pressing back, we can now have a look at the options for this program. Currently I have Auto Air selected. Energy Save drops the energy consumption slightly by making the wash take longer but lowering the heat. And Sanitize, another special option if you're trying to get the temperature cycle really high to get something sanitary in the machine. Half load, obviously there can be savings there if you're only filling up the machine at half capacity. Auto Air is that automatic door opening feature and has no bearing on energy or water usage, but just helps to dry. We're going to turn on Energy Save in addition to Auto Air and leave our settings as such. Note that unless a schedule is set, the start time is the current time. It's always an immediate start. If I close out of this now and reopen, the changes that I made are saved. But if you had all sorts of custom stuff and wanted to save this as a special favorite, you could press that heart below and assign it a favorite's name. I'm just going to call this Test Fave. Back on the main screen for this washer, we'll see my favorites are listed. This one is an auto favorite called Test Fave. I can have multiple favorites. And also recall it as a favorites option from the button on the machine. Amongst other tools on the main page, we'll also find a program assistant that helps you set up settings based on a questionnaire that they provide. Also, there's some cool statistical information about the machine that's provided, which you can review. There's some other interesting stuff here, you just need to explore it. Aside from the Machine Care setting, the only other thing that has to be maintained is this filter right here. We can see these two arrows aligned. I'll turn anti-clockwise to remove the entire unit. There's a secondary filter under this by this sump that needs to be maintained every now and again to make sure there's no buildup, and buildup is expected. Separating the mesh filter from the bottom. The top portion has tabs which are compressed and it is removed from the metal mesh. All three of these pieces can then be washed separately to remove any debris. The top portions then snap back into the metal mesh, with the bottom filter snapped back into the top portion. It spins freely. This whole unit plays back onto the machine and rotated clockwise until both black triangles line up, completing all the maintenance on this machine. And that concludes this video on this Bosch 500 dishwasher. I hope you found this video enjoyable, entertaining, and informative. Do me a favor, hit that like button down below, helps me out a lot when you do, and hit that subscribe button to be informed of more videos like this when they come out. Again, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching. Would you like to reply?